Recording is on.
All right, welcome to the Bitcoin Core App Design Jam session number 8. 3 of us here today, small group, but we have a few design things to go over. So let's jump right into it. Shashwat was about to tell us about some iterations he made. And so for some context, what we're looking at is this whole top bar component. Because we have this big block clock that's on a dedicated screen. And ideally in this header bar, we have a smaller component that also, like the mini block clock, that also lets us know what the current status is. So yesterday we decided we'll do some iterations and we'll talk about them. And here we are. So here we're looking at, in video, my background here at Shashwat's iterations. So Shashwat, do you wanna tell us about it?
Yes. So the first one is a block track one, in which when the IVD has been completed, we can just see that it has been. So this particular icon is giving no particular information. You can just click on it and go on to the bigger block log so that you can see
Right.
what's the sausage one, the sausage design one. And then the
That,
second one is IVD.
yeah.
By the way, just to confirm, I have shared the anyone with the link and view, so you can see the prototype of the uh, designs that I created, the prototype version of them, because I created some hover effect and that kind of stuff. So
Okay, sorry. That's so in this file. I should be able to
right,
press.
just went
No,
on.
hold on. How do I start the prototype? So here I should see.
This one is.
So the text slides in.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so it's slightly from too much left side. I didn't know how to experiment with hover, so
Mhm.
I was intending that it would just fade in from the block log itself, so that it's not taking a space when user don't want to know the information, but the user can just hover over it to know how much time is remaining. So that kind of thing. It just saves the white space on the nav bar, and still the information can be presented to user if needed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I didn't even think about any interactive solutions to this. That also works. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And then after that, the next one is the next one is in which the block log is connecting. It should be visible. I don't know why it's not. Yes, it is. Okay. So this is the one I was talking about. In which this next one. Ah, yes, this one. In which it just kind of uh, shifts in color so that to let the user know that it's still connecting. It
Mhm.
kind of gives the vibe of it's connecting. It's a very subtle change and very slow one, so it doesn't look very on the face kind of way, and it can be observed when you are seeing it.
Yeah. So this might
Is
be
it visible?
hard to
Yes, it
see
is
later
visible.
on in
Yes.
the recording on YouTube or Bitcoin TV. But there is a
Hmm.
pulsating happening here. Yeah, I would beef that up, that pulsating, just make it
Yes.
stronger. But yeah, that's also a good idea.
Hmm.
The way that so sorry, were there more or
No, and there are two more. In which first of all, when you pause the block, the color remains the same yellow one, but now the dot, the long line, the short line has been replaced by universal pause sign.
like this one?
That,
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I came up
yes, a
with
simple
too.
one.
Um,
Yes. And the last one is error one, in which the color has been changed to it's been something you should pay attention to, kind of the color,
yeah,
and then it's replaced with the exclamation mark as we discussed yesterday.
yeah,
That's pretty much it.
yeah.
Yes.
No, that's great. Good job on those.
Thank you very much.
I pretty much came up with the same ones.
Mm-hmm.
Is the pause sign, are they
Okay.
horizontal or are they vertical? You had a vertical, I have horizontal. I can't think of what the standard is.
It's
Yeah,
usually
it
vertical, I think.
in the
Vertical?
Mm.
Okay,
yes.
then I messed that one up. Okay, cool. Yeah, but I also have the same, red ones for an error, pause, all on the same page there. For
Mm-hmm.
the connecting, I mocked up this one where you have this basic loader, that spins around.
Mhm.
For yours with the hold on. This one here, I was wondering if it should be gray or if it should also be yellow or something else when it's connecting.
I think yellow kind of indicates progress or anything, something happening. When the block log is in the connecting stage, no progress is being happening.
Mhm.
So I think there's kind of a there might be a confusing signal going on there.
Yeah. I could see it be full white
They
and
are
then just
giving
kind of
yellow
pulsate.
for connecting.
Mhm.
Yes. Like nothing is happening. It's just going to work soon. Something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that makes sense.
Where did the kind of the connotation of
I,
this in the normal state, where you have kind of a dot, a longer line, and a shorter line inside of the kind of this circle,
Mhm.
where did that come from? Because to me, when I looked at it first time, I didn't know at all what that means. I mean the in the smaller version, in the small one.
Yeah, that's the logo at the top and then 2 lines of text.
Ah, oh, okay, okay. I wouldn't have guessed that. Especially if you haven't seen, I mean,
I
I'm
just
not sure if
did
people
it yesterday.
haven't
It's
made
not
that connection.
I wonder if we have to introduce that, but that's a challenge here. If we can make that work, then I think it'd be super cool. But we have to make it work. That's a design
Mhm.
challenge here. Yeah, that's why I also mocked up this one here, which is closer to the
in some.
colors.
So I was thinking
Yeah.
instead of straight bar, we can replace it with some kind of jagged bar.
Sorry, Shashwat, you're breaking
Then
up quite a bit.
see.
Yeah. We don't hear you
Uh,
almost at all.
okay, I can improve my situation. Light is not there, so no Wi-Fi. Can you hear me? Hello.
Sorry, you might have to type in text because it's really choppy right now.
Oh, okay.
Or, I mean, maybe it'll come back in a minute. Who knows? Let me see. It says your connection is good, so I don't know what's going on.
My connection is definitely not good. I haven't. I don't need to see it to confirm it.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Can you hear me now? Justin, or should I switch to chat?
That
That works now.
seems better. Yeah.
Okay. So that instead of a straight horizontal bar, we can replace it with jagged bar that represents. When you see a number from very far away, you can make out the numbers, but you can just do jagged kind of shades. And since the bigger text, for example, the block counter like X is always a big number in the center of block, we can replace the in the mini block straight line with a jagged line. Maybe it might work.
Sorry, just to confirm, because it
To
was a little bit
in,
choppy again, you would actually
uh-huh.
put text in here.
No. I would make this line a little jag, like not a straight, smooth line, but a line with
Oh, like,
dance in it, so that it represents a number from very far away. Like when you see a number from very far away, you can make the number out, but you can just see that there is something written there,
yeah.
something like that,
So that is
a
tricky
representation of that thing.
because it's 1.5 pixels tall. So half pixel is already.
Mhm.
I mean, that works on a retina screen, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
it becomes 3 pixels. You have
Oh,
a little bit to work with, or even higher resolution. But on a normal screen, even 1.5
okay,
pixels
okay.
is tricky.
So, hi guys.
We just have to
Sorry,
make it
just
Hey, Mo.
gigantic.
Hey Mo.
Hey, Mo.
sorry for being late to the party. I completely forgot about this call. I was just busy with design and fun stuff. I completely forgot about this call.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, all good. We just and Shashwat showed some of his ideas here for showing the.
Mo, yesterday we discussed right the pulsating one. Now see the pulsating one that I have designed. I think it works. It's not very on the face type, but it still kind of gives the vibe of something is happening.
Yeah, we should take advantage of animation and interaction here. I think that's a good one. And that reminds me of something else I looked into here in this header bar. I always had this little arrow here that allows you to quickly switch between different wallets. But then, I don't know, if you can just click here, I mean, it's so quick to just go back to your wallet screen and click another one. I feel like it's not even really necessary. And then if we have hover states for these options here, where I can see my whole balance, I just click it or I hover it, this balance thing here shows up. Maybe we could do the same for the, also have this here.
Oh, Christoph, I just thought of one thing. The hovering wouldn't work for a mobile device, right? So, what would be the solution for a mobile device?
So for this top component, don't worry about mobile because it's just not going to work. The idea is that this is a desktop specific component, and for mobile, we'll probably have to split it up between a bottom tab bar and that's a really common pattern. On mobile, you have a tab bar at the bottom, which might be activity send receive. And then top left, top right, or at the top, there's usually also a top bar with the page title or so, and another one or two options in the corners or so. And like if you check out different applications for global navigation, that's kind of what you see a lot of places, unless you have something like TikTok or Snapchat, they're kind of all over the place. But yeah, for ideally the page, the screen content itself doesn't have to be updated really between the two platforms, but the global navigation framework, we kind of have to.
Actually, I was thinking in the context of the mini block log, since in that you can just in my iteration you can just hover over it to know how much time is left. In mobile case, we can probably go with press and hold kind of way. Press and hold to know how much time.
Yeah, it might be tap and hold.
Tap and hold.
Something very simple. It might be in the bottom tab bar. It might be in the corner. I don't really know yet.
Okay.
We'll have to figure that one out.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the question is if you, I mean, you could also just tap on it and you get to the block log screen because you have to do an interaction anyway.
Well, that's true.
You could also just maybe on mobile show it, but I mean, it's really, again, that there are like 5 different ways you could do this.
Means like it's easier in the interaction kind of sense to go to the real block log instead of getting the that particular small information of it.
Correct. So this can be really minimal. The only reason to put the time in there is to, I mean, if somebody really can't do anything, they can just go to the block log. They can just let the block log screen run if they're just right. We don't have to put any text information up there. Like we can. This is one of the things that I mentioned in another call. We can choose to keep this really minimal. We just come up with some visual states and do pulsating and whatnot. And that can be our first version. And then we get user feedback. And some people will, nobody will say anything. Maybe people say, I wish I could see the status on, or the time until it's done or so on all the other screens. Maybe like, sometimes people also, they don't exactly say what the problem is, but they'll complain about something. You have to infer the problem from it. And maybe that could be a problem. But yeah, we can. This is one of the things where we could come up with 3 different versions. We just go for the most simple one, which also speeds up development, which is nice. And then we have other versions ready in case our solution that we decided on is not, doesn't quite work out. That is something we can choose to do.
So Christoph, I opened your workspace today to get some information of the different iteration, and I was feeling like I was lost in a labyrinth. How do you keep track of all these iterations you have created?
Well, it's very easy. You just zoom out. Right? No, so I put everything create wallet, I put it over here. So I actually, in the pages on the right, I created a Christoph's archive, and that is where I will dump things once they're kind of complete. So once we've confirmed a few things and they move to the V2 wallet, I will kick stuff out of here. But for right now, nothing is really decided on the main wallet. which maybe we could do. Maybe we can, for example, figure out this top component here, and we just, we say this is done. It's kind of an independent component that's very central to the application, but it's also kind of independent of the pages further down. So maybe we can actually start wrapping up a few things here and moving them to the wallet, and that will clean up our various workspaces too. But yeah, design's always, you make a huge mess, and then you pick something, and then you need to trash things.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just need a little bit more time. Design-a-thon's still eating time. But yeah, we could, we could do this type of hover thing, or we could do something like you did. What you came up with works, unless there's another icon here on the left, which
Right.
will have anything. Yeah, Michael,
Then we can move the information like downwards instead of going east towards left. We can go towards down. It will just display the information on the bottom side. If there is a icon, if there might be an icon on the left of the block.
Yeah.
I think this is better. If you're gonna switch to an hover state kind of way, then it's better to give more information rather than getting a confusing 130 or something like that. It's clear to understand that here there are 10 hours to go. Not and in 130 what is it? 130 minutes, 130 hour, 130 days, what? So if you're shifting to hover, I think it's better to give more information.
I like this with the giving more information, but I'm just curious if the user knows then that they should click on this and then they get this information.
Yeah, so that's a thing too here on the left for both the balance and for this thing. Well, they can't click on this. Clicking this takes them to that screen.
Yeah.
Right? So that interaction is gone. It has to be the hover. And here for the balance also, that could be a click because we don't have a dedicated page for this one.
You could show that little down, upside down. What is that?
Yeah. But so practically speaking, there are a lot of applications that I've tried out recently where you have elements in the top navigation, and each of them, and they all react a little bit differently. Some of them navigate you to different screens, some of them give you a drop down and whatnot, right? You kind of want to, it's okay sometimes to be not perfectly consistent. People figure it out pretty quickly. But yeah, we should be intentional about it. So yeah.
I like sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, one option could be just, anything you hover will give you more information. So hovering this icon gives you more information. Maybe hovering send gives you some information. Maybe that's a thing, and then we just use a hover for that. The current GUI also uses hovers for a lot more things that it really should. It uses it for explanatory things that might be better placed in the interface because they're hard to discover. But yeah, we have a few options here.
I think the personal wallet one is quite traditional. It's very familiar to users. Like if you click that, that's going to drop down. It's the downloading blocks one. I'm not so sure about that one. I'm actually almost more. I like the initial design, to be honest. But I guess we can just throw some ideas together and see.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we're already set on a few things. Like a lot of this stuff now with what Joshua did, what we're talking about here, this seems to work. Maybe we can tweak it a little bit to make sure people understand the connection between those two, that this is a mini block lock. That's something we should look into. But then, yeah, how about we do try to finalize this top level component and move it into the main wallet and tighten up those components. That will be something we could. Then, that would be our first thing to actually decide. Right, this is set, and we can put it on the design docs and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
This activity screen is basically the transactions, right? You would have.
Yeah, so
like the home screen for the
it's so one of the problems I always had with so here you have an overview screen in the Qt GUI, which has balance on the left and transactions on the right. So here, balance on the left is available what you have. Pending is what's currently in transactions that are not yet confirmed. And then immature is what you mined, but you can't spend yet. So people are probably not going to mine here very much. So that's a small use case. The pending ones will be around a few minutes or so. And then any pending transactions, you should also see, like there's if you have transactions pending, it will tell you in the list of transactions. So I don't know, having a dedicated space for this seems a little bit overkill. And if you simplify this, then like what's the difference to the actual transaction screen? It's the same thing. It's just a list of transactions. So that's why the idea was there to cut it down. And the thing with transactions is in the design guide, we call it activity because then you can also put other things in there, which for Lightning wallets kind of makes sense. You can log into applications via Lightning wallets. You can maybe in the future there's some Taro stuff happening or so. Maybe you can Lightning wallets like Albi allow you to set allowances. So there could be other stuff. In Breeze, you can listen to podcasts and play a podcast. Stream some stats there. So that's why activity is just a more general thing. It's basically like all the social media. I've turned everything into what they just call a feed of stuff, that it's not just transactions. So that's the rationale for that. I think for the core app, transactions also works. It's just a longer label, I guess.
I'm asking because I mean you could also say that it's like a kind of a home screen for the wallet, right? Where you have exactly what you have here, basically, and then a dedicated transactions screen also like here.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I guess you could mock up a version of that. I personally don't see a lot of benefit from it. They would have to be pretty different, I think. So you could say, well, the transaction screen also has search and filter, and maybe there's a bunch of other stuff happening that's just more for more intense transaction usage, like export as CVS, or maybe it has like a balance chart, or I don't know. That way, so it becomes actually more useful because it is more dedicated to just transactions. If it's just the same thing with one piece of extra information, then it's maybe not so useful.
It's also to think where the same question that came up in the beginning is, where would the pending transactions go for multi-sig? That's another one that would be interesting to think about as well.
Yeah, see, that's the thing with so here it's called recent transactions, and I would just put anything pending in there too.
Yeah.
It probably would have just a different status, right? So it kind of would be visually maybe treated differently, or would have a different icon or something like that.
Yeah.
And just to go back to these designs that Christoph was just looking at, the top navigation blocks over here, there's a question over here is, do we even need this wallet selector? It's just as quick to go to the wallet overview. Because then we have that space used here again. So it almost feels like...
Correct. I looked at this and then I added this question and then I decided to mock up an alternative. So the bottom one is the alternative. So there's no wallet selector. It's just balance details.
What happens when you click on the wallet over here on the far left?
That's when you go to the wallet's overview screen.
Okay, that would be your personal wallet, your business, or your savings wallet.
Yeah. That's where you manage all of your wallets.
And you would probably have a possibility to create a new one.
Yep, that is, where is it? Joshua, I need your help. Can't find my way around.
You need some help.
This one here.
He messed it up. Joshua messed it up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in that case, you
Yeah,
don't need that wallet overview drop down because you have that on the screen.
Yeah, and in this case, you have a more, this is a more dedicated screen to manage your wallets. You see each of them with maybe the balance and when the last transaction was made. You see the different types. You can add and manage them. It's more proper overview screen.
And then I'm guessing when they click on that wallet tab far left in the top nav, it's going to probably turn orange to indicate that they're actually on that tab.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I like it. I like it very much.
In this state, do we need that wallet icon at all on the top left?
Yeah. So so three things remain static here: the settings, the node, and this one remain static. Once you go in a wallet, then kind of this center part here, that one that gets changed into balance. Active transaction send receive. Yeah, we should make a prototype of that and click around because I think it will.
I'd love to make a prototype and click around
a lot of these things
in this week coming up to the design-a-thon. No, I would love to make a prototype of just the onboarding flow.
Yeah, we could create a project around this project.
That would be good. No, because that would be a UX research project. Clicking around in the Bitcoin Core prototype. That's not a bad idea.
If you have time for it, yeah.
So it would be basically just creating the clickable prototype between now and the 12th.
Oh, you mean getting feedback on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could put that on the event schedule, do present a prototype of this application, then just collect feedback from participants.
That's not a bad idea. That is not a bad idea.
Yeah, I concur.
I can lend a hand in creating the prototype.
Please do. This could be a UX. Could this be a UX research project within the?
So that's the option. You could turn it into a whole project itself. I have no idea what you'd want to do. You'd have to come up with something just off the top of my head, or we could just say this is a 1 hour event during the design-a-thon.
Yeah.
Where we, for let's say 10 minutes, we present the project, and then for 50 minutes we gather feedback and have conversation about it, and that's it. Like just a 1 hour session or maybe a 2 hour session, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, so it would just be create the prototype and present it in a 1 hour session, get some feedback.
To also familiarize people with this project. Maybe other people don't know about it or they're not familiar with details and they're curious. It's an opportunity to use the design-a-thon for something else.
Yeah, because you wouldn't really be able to do, I like your first idea, Christoph, because you wouldn't really be able to do anything innovative or come up with, it's basically just testing a prototype. Yeah, it feels it's definitely more like a 1 hour thing. It's not a project. It's not a project.
I mean, it could be its own project, but it just requires a ton of work and management work and attention and time also, which I don't know, you and I probably don't have.
No, my whichever project I do, the design-a-thon is going to have to be, not too time consuming.
Unless
Okay.
the others want to do something.
By project, do you mean creating a working prototype for it, like all the states are connected to all the states that should be connected to? That kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck with that. That's typically, there's always a limit to what you can do because you end up with 500 different screens.
Exactly.
So what I found better is that you create multiple smaller prototypes. There could be one that's really one that's just onboarding. One that's maybe just clicking through the global navigation, like the top tabs and maybe the tabs in settings or so. Just get a feel for how you get generally between different screens. And then in each screen, you can't do anything, right? Or maybe there's one thing you can do, but it's kind of simple. And then you could make more prototypes, like one specifically about sending, one specifically about creating an address or so. So I think the splitting it up is just in practical terms it's more realistic.
much more realistic. Because what happens is if you try to, we discovered that in the design sprint that we did, if you try to have a proper end goal that you want the user to achieve, you're going to have to add on like 5 or 6 or 8 screen states into this whole onboarding journey just to get that full user experience. So
That sounds
we can
too
keep
big.
we can decide, okay, we want to just showcase the 8 screen states from onboarding, click
Mhm.
prototype, stop there. Just onboard, don't send, don't fund wallet, nothing.
Okay. Okay, got it.
So yeah,
And in the Figma, see the text fields, are they also editable in the prototype, or is prototype kind of take you from one screen state to another, be able to deliver what you want?
I'm
Is
sorry, you're
just
breaking
that
up again.
also allows editing that stuff?
We don't hear you. You're breaking up heavily.
Let's give it a minute. I'm sure you'll be back here.
Yeah, and especially Figma is not suited for really complex prototypes. You'll drive yourself crazy.
I think it would be cool to just keep it really simple and narrow and keep it to the onboarding screens. Get some people's feedback. Just show them the prototype, and keep it really narrow. Don't even go into anything else. Not even don't even touch send. Don't even touch active. The home screen. Just keep it to onboarding. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think we should use it for multiple things. During the designathon, I think it's good to give a general introduction to the first version too, where it's just a node, and then maybe the second version, which could be node and wallet creation, kind of what we have,
Yeah.
and try to, because if we get those right, that's already really good foundation. Then a lot of other things will follow from that. For our own purposes as a team, I think we should, just from this conversation, I think doing a prototype for the global navigation, like if we want to finalize that component, I
Yeah.
think doing a prototype for that would be really helpful because
Okay.
it's global navigation, right? You need to try it out. You need to click around a bit to see if it works. And
Yeah.
it's not just imaginary. So I
Yeah.
think for ourselves, we should also do those.
So prototype for global navigation. So that's basically they're going to click and then they're going to go to the send screen, they're going to go to the receive screen. Is that kind of the,
Yeah, I mean, I would just, there are a lot of screens here and in the other workspaces. I would just, grab an activity screen and grab a settings screen and, then just kind of go in
yeah,
and select things and hook up prototypes and,
yep,
whatnot,
got it.
and just kind of leave it at that.
Yep, okay. And then for the designer fund, we
It's a
just
mess.
kind of show them the onboarding flow. Oh my goodness, look at this.
Yeah, when I went into my workspace, I had to delete all of these things.
Who did
Guys,
you
can you hear
really
me
do
now? Am I back?
So I did a lot of that stuff, I think, and then when you copy screens, it also
Yeah.
keeps those prototype links intact, and that's when you end up with this
Yeah.
gigantic mess.
Copy paste can be tricky in this context.
Yeah, and I don't think you
Yes.
can just select a bunch of them and delete them, right?
I
So
don't
you have
know.
to
I
go
don't
about
think.
selecting each one individual one and then delete them. Oof,
It's a mess.
that
Okay.
sounds like a work to do.
So where are we? We have about 15 minutes left. So
Yes.
Michael, you said you had updates on your designs here. Did
Yeah,
you?
two basically.
Okay.
If I can, I'll just share my screen so that I can show stuff around
Okay.
and I can follow myself. Hang on. How do I do this? Share screen, window. Why don't I see Figma? I have to be. You have to have Figma and the browser in the same workspace, I guess. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So I hope
Yep, looks good.
you guys see. So one thing that we discussed last week was kind of the middle state between um, that was actually missing, kind of saving the wallet backup file. So I think that's where we got um, where we kind of left off. And I started actually with kind of a more restrictive um, workflow where we tell you, hey, save your wallet backup. We would force you to download the file, and then it be enabled. The continue button would be enabled, and depending on whether the IBD is already done, um, you would get to something like this to be designed. Uh, if not, and if yes, then basically you get to an empty wallet, um, just like before. And then I thought that's pretty in your. I mean, that's pretty, let's say, restrictive. Another alternative would be where we basically just enable everything, and it's up to you if you want to save the file now or do it later. Um, and you can just actually skip the download or the save um, step, and you basically get to the same turning point here. So that was kind of um, one thing that I wanted to discuss because I don't know which I mean how prescriptive we should be in these kinds of situations.
Yeah, I think that's a group consensus type of thing. Can we That's a good question. Can we look at the text a little bit closer?
Mm.
Um, so it says wallet backup file. Then it says save wallet backup. Then it says it's time to back up your wallet file. Download the wallet file. So there's a but also and then please remember, I feel like this could be cut down to 3 lines of text or so. It's getting pretty heavy here.
Yeah. Also, I mean, the copy. Obviously, I mean, I'm not the most qualified to do this, so the can go in ahead here and just change stuff. So
Yeah.
happy to take any.
Yeah, it's quite text heavy, and I feel like you can
Yeah,
cut
of
that
course.
down to 3 to 4 lines, and I think then it would be a bit lighter.
So Michael, in
Will it
case
be?
of devices where USB card is not supported, in that case, you have to change the text
I'm sorry.
for that. I was saying, like for example, in the iPhone, you can't connect external storage or micro SD card, right?
Yeah.
So this particular text has to be changed for iOS. That means it has to maintain the consistency. We can't add this text in other devices as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no problem with shortening the text. Obviously, the less the better. The challenge for me was to know A, what the exact text should be, and B, how do we want the user to basically lock in this screen so long as they don't kind of do what we suggest. That these are the kind of the two questions. Because I mean, one way is kind of to just remove this kind of text, have it just in one kind of prose, or the other way you could do it exactly the other way around, where you just basically have bullet points because they're just a bit easier to follow, I think. But I mean, if they're yeah.
I quite like the bullet points, to be honest, because people like to skim read. I don't know.
I mean, the format of the text depends on the text itself. Like if we have we just need to figure out the text, right? Then without
Exactly.
knowing the text, you can't. And the text is up to us to decide. And like something with micro SD card, I have actually no idea if that's a good recommendation or not, or if that's what people do, or if it should be more generic. We should figure that out specifically. What tips go in here? The
Who would be the person who has kind of the most? I mean, because I'm not the guy who who knows enough yet. So how do we get to this kind of finalization? Because this is a topic that we have on basically every screen, right? We need to kind of finalize and copy.
Yeah, we just do it. We come up with our best shot, and then we present it to the group and get feedback, and
Yeah.
that'll be it.
It feels like once the whole onboarding flow is kind of, there's a more consensus around those screen states, we can then start to see how the copy connects between the different screens. Because like if we use encrypt wallet on one screen and backup wallet on another screen, but we need to see like all the screens together, one after the other, in a kind of semi-final flow.
Yeah. So I think the next step is to decide on roughly the screens, pretty much the screens that we're going to have. So it's
Yeah.
really just a matter of text and some minor details left, right?
Yeah.
And then we can move that also to the V2 wallet page and for the final tweaks. So the screen sequence is kind of a big thing here. For this particular one, let me also, I feel like there's this pattern of just having skip in the top. So you have your main action in the center, save
Yeah.
file, and then you have just skip in the top.
Mhm.
Yeah, like this instead of backup later.
Yeah, and then you wouldn't. I guess the question is then, if you click save file and you get out of it, if the application can know whether you saved it or not, and if you saved it, then it just takes you to the next screen, or it shows you a confirmation. So let's say I press save file. There's a modal pops up. If the user closes the modal without saving it, does the application know that it was canceled? And if the user saves it, does the application know that the file was saved? If we get that feedback, then we can, in this screen, then also adjust what we show to the person. If it was saved successfully, then we can just say file saved, continue to wallet. If it's not saved successfully, then we just don't do anything. Right? We just keep it as is.
But won't you think that
Would it be easier in that
too
case?
harsh on the user? Like
Sorry,
there
sure.
is a skip option. I can see the skip option on the top of the screen, but still, if first of all, I'm assuming that the application could know that the file has been saved. Only then the button would change from the gray one to a actionable button, the orange one. It feels kind of too tight of a limit because at least on the main flow, it's telling you save or don't, or we are not letting you move ahead until unless you go and press the skip button, kind of way. But for example, if you change it from a simple save file, but and a tick box that yes I have saved and you can move ahead, something like that, or that's kind of more. It feels kind of more comfortable on the user side. It's not too force. It doesn't look too forceful as much as
Yeah, that was the initial question, right? That was exactly the question that I had. So force people into some kind of what, let's say flow, or just let's say let them decide on their own and
Yeah. So
let them continue.
if we look at the Bitcoin design guide and recovery phrase, we make people go through writing down their recovery phrase and then typing it back in. So we're forcing people specifically through this backup process. So I think it's also rational for here to also make people go through. Even they can still skip it, right? But be a bit in their face about this backup. Even if they skip it, they will know that this is an important thing that they should be doing. So
I agree with Christoph because like so Nunchuck was the first one that I desktop GUI that I onboarded myself to besides the Bitcoin Core, and they definitely. I think that users are also very familiar with the fact that okay, I need to do this now. I need to write down my recovery phrase. Then I'm gonna have to type in 2 or 3 words. I think they're used to it. I think it's quite familiar to them. So it's like
Existing crypto users?
sorry?
Existing crypto users, like 0.1% of people.
And then it would also prevent people losing their keys and not having access to their funds in their wallet. So
Yeah.
we're actually helping them by forcing them to go through it. So
Yeah, it's opinionated, right?
Yeah.
It pushes you a bit towards good practices, but you can always bail out, and
Yeah.
then you're on your own.
So basically, we could do something like this where you have the option to skip, but the kind of
I just was thinking
page
of
opens
another
the
flow.
downloads the thing and takes you like Crystal said. It could take you directly to the next.
Hmm. I was thinking of one kind of an expansion of it. What you just explained. Like instead of giving a short text on why on you should backup now, you can explain to them why backupping is important and giving them 2 options, of which the primary one is backup and backup, and the second one is move without backup. And if you press the second one, it shows a new pop-up model screen that you are sure what you are doing. That kind of flow. You can go with that kind of flow, like a proper one page, like how the onboarding used to providing new information. Similarly, a new page could pop up when you are backupping your wallet for the first time, and there might be a small option down there that don't show this message again, something like that. That why you should backup and now backup or don't backup. I think I'm able to explain it kind of in a reasonable sense.
Yeah, being way more.
I think a mock-upping it would be a better idea.
To educate and then take them to the backup room.
Yeah,
Yes.
this also reminds me of the on. I'll have to screen share again in my workspace. I was looking at this password thing. I think there's a similar situation. So, Michael, I saw your password stuff, and I raise you by 1. So, because this is kind of what I wanted to see is putting the name on one screen and password on the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then yesterday we were talking about this, and we did a short iteration here where we were talking about potentially having this smaller text at the bottom of the screen. So the top of the form is manageable, it still feels like a lot of text, but it's not too crazy. But then more detailed tips are further down. And it could even say tips or so. And in a similar way, we could have this little info section at the bottom that then provides more information. So it's easy to see, it's right there, but we don't, clutter up the whole screen with things. Could be like, I don't know, good to know. I don't know, something like little tips section or something. So that if we decide that we want to be a little bit more explicit about things, we could try to find a pattern like this one, where it's easily accessible. Maybe you could even toggle it on and off or so, but it doesn't. The main form still stays fairly simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that seems like a similar thing around the backup, and potentially also about doing an initial test transaction. But all of this stuff, going back to something Michael's question earlier, I feel like if we can, like there are 2 flows here. One is initial onboarding. One is single sig wallet creation. Right now we're working separately. If we can put those in one place and start refining things together, if we can make that jump, that's probably a good step forward.
Yeah.
And we have to look at each other's stuff and think about how, where the differences are and how we can combine them within the design system and whatnot.
It's the combining part that's going. That's
But it's not like this is the final thing. If you
No.
look at the V1 Node Runner, there's still a lot of changes. Not like fundamentally things are not changing, but details are changing, like settings being moved around, and what we did take out one screen a while back, so it's not the end of the world. But it allows us to like all converge on one thing. Would be good.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then we can actually semi-confirm the user flow. That would be nice to do as well.
Yeah, and then we can be more comfortable creating design documentation, prototyping, and all those
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Michael, how does that sound? What's your usual process for this type of stuff? What are your thoughts generally?
I think it makes sense to have it, let's say, in one place. I was just thinking about I think in this case it's probably we're actually pretty far, I think, in the creation of the single sig wallet, where you can kind of lay out the screens all in the correct flow. Because for now we can probably leave be the import flow, right? We would just focus on the create, and that helps to keep kind of the scope a little bit of this page, the entire page, a little bit reduced. And then what we could do is, because you're showing kind of or my initial draft of the password thing, where we basically above each other we have these three. I mean, we have the version that you just showed. We have this one, and we might have other ones where we see them all underneath each other, and can kind of just move away the stuff that we said. Okay, let's archive this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. We could even, I mean, if we wanted to, we could have in the sidebar we can grab one of those pages. By the way, never delete any of those pages in the sidebar because we can't create new ones. Awesome, Figmaster. We could have a screen here for just wallet creation archive, where we really organize all the variations we came up with in design explorations, and we take them out of our own workspaces.
Yeah.
Organize
That
them
sounds
nicely.
good. And you put them one underneath the other one.
Yeah.
Exactly, because in that way, let's say if we can also play around with the copy, right? You can just copy a screen, put it underneath the existing one, change the text, and so you end up with like 4 or 5 different things, and then that might be a good idea to do it that way.
Yeah.
Michael,
Go ahead.
Michael, did you make any design suggestions also for the onboarding as well? I wasn't quite sure. I don't quite remember. Because then maybe it's an idea to put those as well, one underneath each other. But it feels like the onboarding is kind of mostly finished, though.
Yeah, I didn't do too much there.
Okay.
Yeah,
or
so
nothing at all, maybe.
I took a look. We talked about it yesterday a little bit, and Shashwat had the idea, just to summarize, to combine this one and this one potentially.
Yes.
Block lock and IBD announcement. Because the focus will probably be much more on the wallet. Right, so we also have to figure out, if I compile the application without the wallet, will this screen even show?
I'm not quite understanding.
So I can build the application without a wallet where it just runs a node.
Okay, right.
So there's a potential here that somebody gets this modified version where the screen doesn't exist. But generally, our main version will be like this. But there are smaller changes that we should make. So yeah, I think that's its own separate thing that we should also just kind of tackle at a time, decide on it, say, okay, for now, this is it. and then we're going to get a bunch of feedback from other people anyways, and then we'll just do tweaks accordingly. But as long as like the primary screen sequence is fine and we think it's okay for development and
Yeah.
we're happy with our approach of modals and whatever, then we
And
should be able to.
it's a good thing Gerald is not on this call because he just doesn't want to hear the word onboarding. So, it's, maybe we just in the archive we just focus on indeed the create wallet, all the flows one underneath each other, and yeah.
But we can rename the street the page, right? So we could say it's kind of it's pre-prod. Or something like
work in progress.
Yes.
And that's where we maybe also could put the main navigation component to kind of work on finalizing it. Or would you have that separate?
No, I mean we can put stuff here in the V2 wallet screen, and you can just put comments right next to things, right? You can just explain what's what. I can put the other thing. We can put top nav, work, progress, and then we can say working on finalizing this and that. Like we can put all that stuff in. And on if you look at the Bitcoin Core.app, there are plenty of places where it says that this is work in progress or a first draft or a first iteration or so. So I wouldn't worry about it. I think everybody assumes that things are half baked to an extent.
Yeah, I usually group things by framing them. Because here in this file, I have one page for myself, so I created a frame inside it that's called archive, and I move all the stuff that I don't need anymore down there. So if you zoom out, the different, here are kind of stuff that I referenced, and even the use cases here, right? Kind of put the import case in its own frame, so that when I move stuff around, everything gets moved properly. But it's something like this could also be,
Yeah, I mean,
a section.
I can tell you really like things organized with all of your connecting lines and whatnot.
Yeah, otherwise I go crazy. I lose. Because I'm not working on it every day.
Yeah.
I would lose kind of the context.
Yeah.
And I've worked on more complicated things, or kind of, let's say, more extensive applications like this, and I constantly forgot about stuff, or misplaced them because I moved things, and then I had some mean developers telling me, "Hey, where's my shit?"
Yeah.
There's very clear labeling and everything, and it's very organized.
Yeah, I think it's important when you have multiple people working on something asynchronously, because I was working in a design team of 15, and not everybody had the same kind of knowledge about everything, so it helped avoid kind of unclear things. So that's why I'm maybe a bit, how do you call it, pedantic about these things.
Yeah, it's I definitely know that. I had the experience too with open source. My approach changed a bit. I basically assumed no one will care about this design file, and I have to put things outside of it, like documentation and videos and clickable prototypes and stuff, because so many people are just not designers or not Figma or don't want to create accounts for whatever reason and whatnot. So I've given up a little bit on that.
Yeah, for development, definitely. It shouldn't be in here. But as long as we're kind of iterating things and talking about general flows and collaborating in this thing, then I think it still helps.
No, totally. And at some point, hopefully, each of our screens are pretty simple because we're just going to pick things from the main files, the ones we decided on, copy it, and make variations, right? Because right now we're in this major construction. And that's why all of our workspaces are so So
I
it's
think
like,
in the archive file, it would definitely be interesting to have the onboarding flow there, because I think that there might be some small nuances in the text or in some design decisions that would need to maybe be carried on in the create wallet flow. And if we don't have that onboarding there, the reference is just not there to keep on, like going back to and like looking at and seeing, making sure that everything's tied together. Like small things like the skip button, like the placement of the buttons, um, like I don't know, small alignment things that we might have done in onboarding. I'm just thinking out loud, but it's just so that everything is connected, everything is on the same.
yeah, that works to a certain extent. Whatever system for organization you use, it always has its benefits and its areas where it falls apart, and you just have to know what those are and work
Yeah,
with them. I mean, it's nice to archive things, and like Figma has a history, right? It technically exists, but it's pretty useless
yeah,
because you can click back and forth, but it doesn't tell you what actually changed, so you have to manually kind of figure that out.
Exactly. There's no diff.
Yeah. So, and you can put into workspaces, but practically, from my experience, it's like something from a few months ago. There are times when I maybe remember it, but mostly it just ends up being useless.
yeah.
Yeah.
The videos and that type of stuff, creating these artifacts, that I found more helpful. Having it in GitHub, having an issue where that's discussed and the images and
Mhm.
text gets posted, because that sticks around. But Figma stuff, I mean, it's beautiful, it's amazing to have this open, flexible workspace, but it's
Mhm.
just bad at time, at
It
history.
is.
Yeah.
So what would be the purpose of the archive file? Would that be just to clean up everything, or is that more to get more alignment with the create flow?
Archive is kind of a way to, so we have like, Michael has 3 iterations of onboarding. I have 3.
Yeah,
Jakob's made some or so. Once we're kind of happy and we've decided on the flow that we're all happy with, that we're going to go for, we
yeah.
just take all of the other ones and we put them in a page that's called Onboarding
Archive.
Archive. And
Oh,
so if we ever want to refer back to something, we still have it. However, they might break also. It's something to consider, because
mm,
if we tweak our components, then some old design layouts might break.
mhm.
So that's why image exports, GitHub stuff, videos can be a little bit better at capturing the history of these things.
Okay.
Yeah, but it will be there. Most likely, it will be there, and it will be, if you want to look back at something, or if we want to, like, sometimes it also happens where somebody joins a project and they're like, "Oh, have you thought about this?" And you can say, "Yes, I have thought about it. It's right here.
Here
Take a
it
look."
is. Yeah, exactly. So the onboarding flow is pretty much, we could say like 90%. How, like, yeah.
Yeah, we're not changing very much. I think a nice thing would be to have a wallet illustration that fits in
Yeah.
with these other ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be cool to have. And then we need to figure out merging, if we can merge IBD and BlockLock together.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, I don't think much changes.
Yeah. Okay, that's
So
good.
guys, do you create your illustration in the Figma itself or in some other apps like Illustrator or something else?
Those are in Figma. I've used Illustrator for 20 years, but I still don't know how to select stuff in it, so I've given up on it.
I don't like Illustrator and I don't
It's the
like Photoshop.
worst.
I've used them. I've used InDesign as well. Not a big fan.
So, and
Yeah,
now
wait
that
until
that big
Illustrator
company
switches
has
to
taken
Figma
Figma as
as
well,
well.
so let's hope for the best for the Figma's future.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Adobe has some good legacy products, but man, Illustrator, they managed to make the least intuitive selection system ever. Yeah, it just cannot wrap my head around it. It's impossible. I
So all
watched
the illustration
videos,
you
I
have
read
created in the Figma
explanations on
itself.
it. It does not work for me.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I was seeing, so all the illustrations you have created in the Figma itself.
yeah.
So it's more the consensus on the create wallet flow, because we have now 6 different flows. We've got Christoph's, we've got Michael's, and we have Jacob's as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yes.
the onboarding, nothing much changes. Create wallet, we have it's create single sig wallet. I think it's also, we've discussed everything pretty much. I think it's, there's kind of this screen, this add wallet screen, which is its own separate thing, right? We can design that one when it's empty, when there's one wallet in there or 3 of them. Like this one here, that's its own thing. The top nav bar is its own thing. And then, I think this is also just password. Is it 1 or 2 screens? Backup, is it 1 or 2 buttons? Afterwards here, I think we should just start, committing to a few things,
I think
and then
so.
systematically go through the design problems.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Just one question though. How can I help in this process?
So I think you can help with feedback, but I think the main thing is that we now go about it systematically. We pick something, one person puts kind of a small presentation together. Let's say onboarding moves all those screens to a wallet, creates a header, adds some small descriptions down there, maybe creates a clickable prototype, and then at some point we say, shares it with people, gives some feedback, maybe exports it, we put it on in the design docs or so, and then we have materially out, we can run it, we can all give feedback, and then we finalize it. But it just needs, and I can do that, I'm happy to do it also.
I think you have the best overview.
Since the onboarding screens are 90%, I'm happy to create a clickable prototype of those ones. And not do too many. I mean, I'm not going to do any design changes, just create a clickable prototype, which is pretty straightforward because it's literally just clicking through.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're talking about. It's really just we might be kicking out one screen, and we might be, and that's kind of it. So it's not a big deal, really. I think that's fine, and maybe that's a good thing to finalize first, because it's kind of a light one. We still have 1 or 2 minor tasks here to figure out, which we should get around to. And then maybe the top nav is the second one, where we can put that in a good spot, and maybe then we go to, or we can do it in parallel too. Yeah, how about we just try to make that happen next?
Yeah.
How about for next Thursday, we try to have, should we do just this onboarding, or should we do another one for next week?
So to kind of finalize it.
Yeah, we can also just do one thing per week. So we just grab this one. Next week we'll try to finalize it, so we have it in the design docs and the 2 wallet screen. And then the week after, which we'll be doing still before the design-a-thon, we pick the next thing. So just one thing per week.
Top nav. Yep. I like the same.
I think in the 2 weeks we can complete the single sig wallet flow as well and create a prototype for it. To showcase in the design-a-thon.
This is the idea, because if we work on the onboarding next week and we kind of finalize the design, then we can create a clickable prototype which we can showcase in the design-a-thon.
And going back to something Michael said, it's because we're touching so many different things potentially. It's better if we split it up into smaller buckets now. So one thing at a time, once per week. One per week might just be a good thing, where it allows all of us to focus a little bit better. And then do that. It's done. We're happy with it. We move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Cool. We talked for 1:20.
Longer call, one of the longer calls.
Yeah.
Maybe Christoph and I can move the stuff to its own page that we think, is the basis for these things, align it, or lay it out so that hopefully people can work with and add their own versions of each screen underneath it. And yeah, I just had an idea about the top nav, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, oh.
No, it's just the visual stuff.
Yeah,
But I will be out next week. I'm in Rome from
nice.
Sunday team meeting, so I'll be back on Thursday evening. So probably won't make any calls.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Maybe you could just do it
But I have
asynchronously.
time. I would say I have about 4 to 6 hours at least until the end of this week to work on something.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, feel free to poke around other things too, multi-sig and whatnot. You did have questions around multi-sig, right? Multi-sig imports.
I have all the questions, but no, I worked on the import wallet flow, but I think it's better anyway to wait until maybe Gerald is back, so that because we're going to need his feedback anyway. So I'd probably focus on cleaning up this flow so that we have it in one place where it doesn't fly around like crazy, and take the top nav maybe, and I think that's already enough.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of detail in this top nav here. Yeah, okay, sounds good. Cool, let's do it.
All right.
Now I'm gonna stop the recording.